So this is the next video with the module 3. We are discussing industrial sector of Pakistan and the course is issues in Pakistan economy. And I hope you are enjoying discussing and having the knowledge about the industrialization process in the Pakistan. So अभी तक हमने first two phases को discuss कर लिया है. We had divided the whole process of industrialization in Pakistan in two different eras और उसमें फिर हमने further उसको phases में divide किया. हमने दो phases को discuss कर लिया है. आज हम third phase of industrialization in Pakistan को discuss करेंगे. Before moving towards the next phase, let's quickly recall what we had discussed in the last phase, just to interlink the whole process. कि हमने first two phases में देखा था कि there were strategies and policies which were supporting the industrialization process, and the industrialization or process of industrialization had seen remarkable growth in the first two phases. The first phase strategy was import substitution, and the second phase policy was import liberalization, and there were policies for export promotion as well, and the results were dramatic. Overall economy had seen a very good growth. That's why we call the last phase a decade of development, and manufacturing or industrial sector had seen remarkable growth in Pakistan's industrialization history. And by the end of that era, one critical review was the increase in the inter-regional disparities between different regions, and particularly between East and West Pakistan. So this era started with a big change with the loss of East Pakistan, and the democratic government inherited the country of West Pakistan with the name of Pakistan, which was defeated in war by India, and we had lost East Pakistan. That was the whole scenario with start of this era. And this era is called as the bad luck era, or the poor management time period, or the poor performance time period, which was very different from the last era, which was the decade of development or the developmental time period with the military government. This was the democratic government. This third phase is between 1969 to 1977, and let's have the overall analysis or the theme of the time. The government had the main concept of socialism behind every economic policy they had taken up, and critically reviewed that this was the main reason of poor economic performance and highest rates of inflation in this time period. There is also a concept of bad and poor economic policies which were responsible for poor economic performance in this time period. Besides the policy matters, it is also said that this time period had seen many factors which were not in the control of the government. We call them bad luck factors. So they also played a critical role in causing economy to grow in the below trend rates as compared to the previous time periods. So these are the three different aspects to analyze. So what were major steps taken up by this government or the policies which are basically responsible for poor economic performance? First of all, nationalization. This government had decided in their election manifesto that they'll take up all the institutions as a public property. So first step was nationalization of all basic industries and financial institutions, and there were three different aspects of taking these institutions as a public property. The concept was to take up all the means of production that are generators of growth and industrial investment in the public hands. All the infrastructure should be in the public ownership, and all the institutions dealing with the medium of exchange like banking and insurance, they must be nationalized. So these are the three different aspects of nationalization strategy or policy of this government. Besides nationalization, next step or next policy was labor reforms. And the government had claimed in the election manifesto that they'll work on the labor reforms. So after coming to power, they fulfilled their promise and they worked over the labor reforms in 1972. There is devaluation of Pakistani rupee in by month 31% in this time period. Banking reforms were also launched in this time period. In May 1972, State Bank of Pakistan has taken up all the scheduled banks in their control. Export bonus scheme or export promotion policies, which were very much effective in the last era, that was abandoned. And besides these steps, or besides these factors, now those factors which were not in the control of the government, we call them bad luck factors of this time period between 1969 to 1977. अगस्त 1973 में बहुत ह्यूज फ्लड पाकिस्तान में आया, और that was historically massive, and that results out to be the damage of agricultural output in the country. And in October 1973 में there was rise in the national petroleum prices, which is called as OPEC or oil price rise, which results out to be an important inflation in Pakistan's economy. Then after this OPEC price rise, there was overall world recession, which affected the international trade and particularly the exports of the country. There was huge failure of cotton crop, as much as 25%, and this was the time when international cotton prices had risen. So पाकिस्तान उसका बेनिफिट भी नहीं ले सका क्योंकि हमारी कॉटन क्रॉप ही डैमेज हो गई। 76-77 में एक दफ़ा फिर बहुत ही हिस्टोरिकली वर्स्ट फ्लड ने पाकिस्तान को हिट किया, एंड दैट अगेन damaged our agricultural sector and output, and that definitely affected the industrial raw material, industrial input. So these were the bad luck factors working in this time period. These factors or policies taken up, or the bad luck factors. Nationalization strategy or policy taken up by the government had completely reversed the investment schedule in the country, public and private. प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट 1974-75 में सिर्फ 15% रह गई थी 1970 के लेवल से, जबकि पब्लिक सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट जो थी वो 75% तक रेज कर गई, जो कि 1970 में ओनली 5% वाज देयर. सो देयर वाज कंप्लीट रिवर्सल ऑफ द इन्वेस्टमेंट done by public and private sector, and obviously this shows that the private sector, which had played a very critical and important role in the first two phases of industrial development in the country, they had lost their trust in the government because the industries were taken up by the government. And during this time, or due to these policies or bad luck factors, inflation reaches to the peak level in this time period. That was out of control. Or again, we had seen that there was a devaluation of currency, but what happens is the increase in the oil price that completely wiped out the balance of trade, positive balance of trade towards the negative. So uska bhi hum koi gain nahi le sake. Floods and pest attacks damaged crops severely is sare time period mein. So these were the consequences and failure of cotton crop, as we had discussed, as much as 25%. और ये वो टाइम था जब इंटरनेशनल कॉटन प्राइसेस राइज थी, एंड पाकिस्तान could have taken the benefit out of it, but due to the failure of cotton crop, we could not gain benefit from this. Now, what is the critical review of this time period? Generally, the economic performance of this time was poor, and we had seen economic stagnation. There was no growth. Besides this poor economic performance, we had seen lack of fiscal and monetary discipline. There was huge budget deficit in this time period, and there was monetary growth in initial years of this government after the loss of East Pakistan, and there was inflation as well. So this was said to be as the period of domestic and international turmoil, and the factors which were not in the control of the government as well. So we can say that although there was bad management and there was poor economic policies, but there are more external factors than the bad management which results the poor economic growth rates in this time period. That's why we call it the bad luck time period, 1969 से 1977 तक. So this is all about the bad luck time period for industrialization in Pakistan, 69 till 77, which we had discussed in this video. We'll discuss the next era in the next video, or the next phase in the next video. And till then, see you in the next video.